What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of All Things Super. I am one of your hosts, Spider, and I am joined, eventually will be joined, by Mr. VIP, Frankie Washington. Why'd you have to lean and then slide?
I'm eating a banana, and I wasn't trying to eat a banana on camera. Pause.
You said whenever you're ready, sir.
Yeah. Right. Go ahead, do your thing.
Oh my god. For this episode, we have our very special guest joining us again. We have Michelle and Keisha back again joining us for our breakdown and our review. How are you guys doing today?
Doing all right.
I was in the frame chewing. I hate you. I hate you so much right now.
That is a universal feeling, sir. I get that a lot. I wish I had $1 every time I heard that.
But if you don't know, this is All Things Super, where every week we take a piece of superpowered movie, TV, even trailers. We watch them, we review them, we react to them, we break them down, and we answer the question, is it super?
Is it?
Is it?
Possibly?
Could be.
Kinda?
Maybe.
Halfway.
We'll see.
Halfway.
But if you like that, subscribe to the channel, click on the bell so you can be notified when we have new episodes that come out. If you want the audio version of the podcast, which if you're listening to the audio version, you just missed the last minute and a half of everything else that was going on. Put the banana down.
Words you thought you would never say when you woke up this morning. You never thought you would be saying, put the banana down. That's a t-shirt. We need to get that on a t-shirt.
Oh my god.
If you want the audio version of the podcast, just search for All Things Super on any of your favorite major podcast streaming platforms. And if you want to join in on the conversation, just tweet at us at ATSuperPod.
And leave a comment because we like reading the comments.
Oh my god, yes, we like reading a comment. Don't comment on Mr. VIP Frankie Washington's banana though.
Mrs. might not like that.
Oh my god.
We are here, sir
We
and
are
ladies.
here.
Ladies and sir, with one of the smallest and largest Quantumanias that exists.
It's the only
Ant-Man and the
Quantumania that
Wasp.
exists.
Well, you know, that's to be questioned because where did Kane go? Did he shrink further down? These are questions that we're going to get into. Oh, we're diving in 2023. We're not doing no more spoilers. We are.
Yeah, I missed that.
You click the thumbnail, you're here.
2023, no more spoiler warnings.
You should watch the shit.
I mean,
so
you're here.
If you did not watch Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, this is your last warning. You might want to get out of this thing. Go see. Well, hey, I was trying to be nice. I was trying to be courteous.
We were nice off 2022.
Accused for a lot of stuff. Well, here we go. So, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. No dialogue. No dialogue. We didn't do any dialogue. How are you, ladies?
I asked him that already. You were too busy concerned about. He was concerned about his banana.
Okay.
Potassium is important. Make sure you guys are important.
But before we dive into things that we thought about the movie, well, liked or didn't like, before we dive into those, we just want to at least find out overall feelings of Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Yes, if you're here, you know this is exactly what we're talking about. We're going full spoilers, so that's on you if you say, "Oh, they spoiled something," but. You were warned from the title. It's a spoiler review in the title. So if you're here, that's because you want to hear what we have to say. But general thoughts.
Or you like us. Or you like these ladies. Hey, ladies.
Oh my god.
That's so creepy. But general thoughts. Mr. VIP, I'll start with you. General thoughts on Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania.
We are looking at the return of Mr. Scott Lang, and if you guys haven't watched our recent videos where we rewatched Ant-Man 1 and Ant-Man 2, Ant-Man and the Wasp, go back and watch those. We're here now on the third installment of Scott Lang's Ant-Man, and I think, as a whole, which is really interesting, I hear a lot of the internet is shitting on this movie, and I just don't understand why.
Worst Marvel movies. Worst rated Marvel movies.
I just don't stand by that. I don't believe that. I don't see that. We got something new. We got something adventurous. Slider and I talked about it in the recent episodes that we were wondering if we were going to get the same quality of jokes because Mr. Paul Rudd was not a writer on this one. I think they delivered. I think they came across with a quality movie. The only thing that I would say that I did not prefer in this movie is the amount of time Janet Van Dyne took to disclose that secret that she was getting it on in the quantum realm. That's it. I mean, it was 30 years. I don't expect Janet to, 30 years. Come on. A woman's got needs. She said it. You had to accept it. You didn't have to like it, but it was a true statement. She had needs. What I think, they try to say it was Bill Murray, but I think it was more like a Kang. And I said that before. When they were sitting down, it was just the two of them. Yeah, they looked like they was fresh off of hay. Chicka wow, chicka wow wow, chicka wow, chicka wow, chicka wow wow. I know y'all agree. Y'all don't have to agree, but it was there. The writing was in the sand. So, Slider, what you think about the Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania? Generally, overall, at the just
generally, I would like to hear what the ladies thought before I give my thoughts.
Way to deflect. All right.
This is what I do. Keisha, what do you think about Quantumania?
You can't believe everything you hear or read on the internet. I overall, I think one of the comments I read was something like, "Oh, well, they made King out to be this big bad, and they just didn't utilize him." Well, I felt like it was a great build-up, and there's more than one Kang the Conqueror. And I also thought that it was good. It had its issues, but overall, I thought it was a good movie. I thought it had the right amount of everything, and it made me excited about what's coming next. And I want more Kang and more Paul Rudd. There wasn't enough Paul Rudds and Kang the Conqueror for me. More Kang, more Paul Rudd. I liked it. I felt like it was good, and I felt like it just was a great setup for what's coming next. And I was literally, when I saw all the Kangs together, I was very afraid. I was so afraid because in Loki, I saw what was coming, and now it's like, oh, all right, let's hunker down. Where's the bunker? Like, I'm ready to, it did good. I felt like it was overall very, very good. I enjoyed it. So yeah.
Michelle, what'd you think?
I enjoyed it as well. And like I said, before I got in there, of course, you see all like the reviews and all that. I saw it was getting the lowest rated Marvel movie or whatever. But when I saw it, I was like, honestly, it's on par with all the other Ant-Man movies that have come out. Like, Ant-Man's never been the top tier best Marvel movie, but it's not a horrible movie. So honestly, I enjoyed it. It was like the perfect amount of like comedy and action as well in there. So it was definitely a good movie.
I agree with you all in the sense that it was enjoyable. It was enjoyable. Look, don't start.
I'm looking at that facial expression.
Don't start.
Don't hold back.
Don't start.
Let the man talk. God damn it.
I'm just saying.
Mr. VIP Frankie Washington says that I have high expectations and lofty.
Ooh, there are up
Standards.
there.
Yeah, he claims that I have lofty standards when it comes to movies.
You do. You do.
I don't feel like I do, but apparently I do. But there, of course, like everybody said, it wasn't top tier. It wasn't anything. Well, for me, it wasn't anything groundbreaking. I don't feel like it was a trailblazer by any right. But it was an enjoyable movie. I enjoyed it. It was 2 hours, 5 minutes, something like that. So it wasn't
long enough.
No, well. You say that.
They need to get way more long. I'm talking about 4 hours, 5 hours.
No.
Get more Ant-Man, get more Jonathan Majors, get it.
So.
All right, I'm okay with the Jonathan Majors.
But there were definitely I had some problems with the movie. I will say this.
Let's get into it. What are those issues?
Because I saw it on Thursday, and so today is Sunday. So after some time thinking about it, I left the movie and I was disappointed. I was upset because Keisha and you kind of touched on it. where this movie was hyped up a lot. Kang as a villain was hyped up a lot. And you leave the movie theater and you're like, well, this was supposed to be the next Avengers level threat, right? This was supposed to be the next Thanos. He's the next big bad that's supposed to take the MCU into a new era. And in the end of a 2-hour movie, we've done away with Kang. And this was before the post-credit scenes, of course. So you're thinking that, okay, well, how? What happened? Like, why was it this easy? Because this is supposed to be a Kang that's going to be able to fight the Avengers. And he even said he's killed Thor. You know, he's like, you know, have I killed you before? You're not the one with the hammer, are you? You know, so he's gone through Avengers, but it really took Scott, Hope, and a bunch of ants, and they did away with Kang. And so I'm like, how? And then we get to the post-credit scene and we see, you know, the multiple variants of Kang, and like, okay, that's what this movie is. This movie is a stepping stone. And I think that that's why it's being, if you look at the score in Rotten Tomatoes, it's like 48% or 40-something percent, like 46%, something like that, critics rating, and then it's like 80-something percent for the audience score. And I think that's because you have these critics who don't score a movie on how well it fits into a franchise, right? How well it fits into an overarching story. This whole MCU continuity, we know it's all interconnected. We know that each movie is going to propel us to the next stage of this particular saga. But I think the critics don't look at it that way. They look at it as a single movie. Does this single movie make sense? Does this single movie stand on its own? And for them, it doesn't. For us, this shows us what we're going to get into. We see a stadium full of Kangs and still even more popping in. You're like, oh, this is going to be a problem in 2-3 years time when they all converge wherever they're going to converge, and we're going to get this knockdown drag out fight. It's basically Thanos' army, but it's only one person. So after having some time to be able to sit with it, I came to understand, like, okay, that's what this movie was. And in that right, then yes, it did what it meant to do in order to serve its purpose as going into the next stage of this part of Phase 5. Well, technically it's starting Phase 5. But one of the problems that I had with the film, and kind of what you said, Mr. VIP, about the amount of time that it took for Janet to admit that she had relations with Bill Murray or whoever it's implied that she slept with while she was in the quantum realm.
The woman has needs, sir.
And so
she has
Hank.
needs.
Hank had needs as well.
Linda. Who the hell is Linda?
Who's Linda? Let's go ahead and unpack.
Who the hell is Linda?
Do we know Linda in the MCU?
Mr. Hank, I'm gonna need you to put some respect on Janet's name. Okay, you are not in the quantum realm alone. You need to keep it in your pants.
But like you said, it was 30 years, and so he said, you know, he tried and it didn't work out, and so Janet asked him why. He said, because she wasn't you, baby, and that's true love.
Yeah,
in the MCU.
In the MCU.
But no, my thing was Janet's whole thing about. They get into, first of all, if we're following the movie progression, first of all, Cassie being an activist, love it. We talked about it in the previous movies, in the previous reviews of Ant-Man and the Wasp. We talked about it in the trailer. Why was Cassie in jail? Cassie grew up with a superhero father. She grew up when she got to know Hope. You know, her parents are superheroes, and
not her parents.
Well, Scott's her dad.
Technically, yes, dad, and
Scott's her dad, but it's her mom. They're not married.
Okay.
Well, we don't know what their relationship is at this point.
Let's dive.
But they seem very close.
Right.
They seem very close in the movie. I mean, they had some type of relationship, but not for her to work on their little signal thing. So clearly, she's seen as a mother figure. Her mom was nowhere in this movie.
Exactly,
These
which was another problem that I have with this movie.
Yeah, like your mama.
Like Cassie was in jail. First of all, her stepdad is a cop. So where was he in this whole thing? Where was Paxton? You feel like Paxton would have been the first one at the police station.
Because he was all over the first one.
Undercover assignment. You know, he's probably trying to take down the Kingpin, potentially. We call
San
that...
Francisco?
Get your...
Kingpin is in New York.
There you go. That's to go to show you how undercover he is.
They don't send SFPD cops to New York
It's not adding
to
up.
handle street crime.
This math is not math.
Math is not math.
No.
But for Cassie to be in jail and them have this realization, because obviously Scott has a problem with it. He's like, you're doing all this stuff. I understand you want to help, but it's like you think in Scott's mind, he's like, I've been, I became Ant-Man. Not too long after becoming Ant-Man, I go to Germany, fight with Captain America. After that, I get put on house arrest. And then I'm dealing with all of this quantum stuff. Get stuck in the quantum realm for apparently 5 years, felt like 5 hours to me. Come back out. Not even long after I come back out, it's almost the end of the world because Thanos is back and I have to fight these aliens. Do all of that. Finally get recognized because we saw in Endgame, nobody recognized him. He was sitting in a diner with Hulk, and nobody wanted to take a picture of him. Take the goddamn phone. So, now we get this like reverse of it where everybody's recognizing him. He's getting recognized on the street. Everybody wants him to take pictures with their dog for whatever reason.
Yeah, that's weird.
But he's finally enjoying life. He's written a book. He's got his podcast. He's enjoying life for once. He doesn't have to worry about being broke. He doesn't have to worry about not working. Hope has, restarted Hank's business and now it's Pim Van Dyne, and so everybody's doing well now. And from Scott's perspective, it's like, I understand you want to help people. I understand you want to be an activist. You want to be a fighter, but there's ways that we can kind of go about this that won't land you in jail all the time.
Right.
Then he finds out this isn't even our first time in jail. Then he finds out that they've been working on this quantum receiver. And so from a father's perspective, it's like, Hope, Hank, like, seriously, like, y'all can't talk to me about this, or like bring me in on conversation or something, doing all of this stuff in the secret. And on top of that, they were doing it under Janet's eyes. Janet didn't even know anything about this. And like, first of all, where were you? Where you didn't know anything about this? But the thing about it is we get the conversation between Janet and Hope, where Hope is like, if you want to talk about it, you can come to me. We can talk about it. We can talk about your time in the quantum realm. And Janet's like, oh no, I want to move past it. It was 30 years. I just want to focus on being your mom and all that kind of stuff. And for Janet to be so, in my mind, well, I guess it was justifiably upset that they were creating a two-way communicator with the quantum realm. But of course, they would have known not to do that if you would have just told them what happened while you were there.
Every time someone tries to keep something a secret, it ends up coming out, and it could have been so avoided if you would have just said what you needed to say.
Right.
We wouldn't have a movie. No.
Here's what I didn't like that was in context of the movie, since we're talking about the things that we didn't care for, besides the fact that I said Janet holding on to this secret. I didn't like the fact that they were shitting on Ant-Man in the beginning of the movie. Like, you're not doing anything. You're signing books.
Cassie was shitting on him hard.
Hard.
It was like at least I'm out here doing something. I'm like, the fuck?
He saved
the world. I saved the world.
Okay?
Oh, did you save the world? We never heard that before. Janet, did you know that Scott saved the world? It's like, maybe you should write a book about it. I was like, bruh, that's so messed up.
It was like Ant-Man bashing session, the whole entire movie, and I was just like, all right, they're just shitting on him. He can't get no respect.
None, absolutely not. And I mean, it's bad enough that he was getting it from the Avengers. They blew away his tacos and all this other kind of stuff. It's like, now you go home, you think your family is going to be the one to actually support you, and no, they still don't give you no love.
Your daughter getting out of jail. Your wife and your daughter and your father-in-law working together, they're not telling you anything.
Exactly.
It's like,
but here's
within his family.
Even me, guilty party, I thought Ant-Man was going to goddamn die in this movie. I was shitting on him in the sense, not thinking that Ant-Man was going to be able to handle his own. I mean, he got the boot bashed into his goddamn helmet to the point that it was broken. He got his ass whooped in this movie. And I'm happy that he won because goddamn
Did
event,
he?
okay?
Did he
Well,
win?
see that I love that about the movie though because it's so left for interpretation because when he's out of the quantum realm, and I know we're hopping all over the place, but
Yeah,
this is what
sorry
you
about
clicked on.
that.
You know what you
No, that's
clicked on.
fine.
You know what you clicked on. You know how this show goes. He's out the side of the quantum realm. He made it back home. He's walking and he's saying to himself, "Did I win? Like we stopped? Can't we stopped him from getting out? But wait,
But he also said that if he
don't
don't get out, all of this bad stuff is going to
then
happen.
all of variances are going to take like, and that makes you like, wait, yeah. I mean, if you watch Loki season 1,
Yes.
we know the ending of season 1 reveals that he who remains is just a variant of
Coming.
Kang.
And they're coming.
He destroyed timelines. He even yelled at Sylvie and Loki. It's like, grow up. This is the reality. I have to do this because if I don't do this, far worse things are going to happen. Can you imagine seeing your favorite Avengers enslaved? The human population as a whole enslaved, like just doing the bidding of kings? That's a reality that could happen if one of those other variants take over the sacred timeline. So he's saying to make your harmonious existence, this is the best case scenario if I take over, and he gave the option to Loki to take over, you run it. I can go do other stuff. But you gotta maintain
But
the status
somebody
quo.
has to.
Too. And then he also gave the same, like, and then he told Janet, like, your world doesn't have to get destroyed. Like, you can see your daughter, you can have time, and time isn't exactly what you think of it. And for me, it was like, so he was going to create this little pocket for her to be with Hope, and she wouldn't have a realization of what is going on outside the world. The thing that made me love this movie is because I think they brought everything that he sat there, he explained to Loki, it was just one of me.
Mm-hmm.
And another one came, and I was messing with this time machine, time traveling type thing. And one came, then two came, then there were all of us, and then some of us got,
One of the fight for superiority.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So now that was a little like where it was like a little animated thing he did just there, and you're like, oh, but he's one of those moral conundrums where it's like, just like Thanos, I gotta snap some people. We don't have enough resources. Here he is. I have to destroy all these timelines. I don't care. It's more than you.
Mm-hmm.
And that in itself is like kind of like, okay, like you're selfish. You're trying to just protect this one state of things when all my other variants are out there doing God knows what, and the only way to end that is to destroy it. She's like, oh, there are billions of people, but you're literally only thinking about yourself, which we all tend to do as human beings.
Yeah, it's self-preservation.
So it's like you're only thinking of it, but just, but either way, he said, this is going to happen. With or without me, these things are going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And then it don't dawn on us really, well, on me, until I saw the barking in the stadium and all these variants, and it's like, oh,
Right.
this is fucking scary.
Yeah.
Like this, like the best, it's like the lesser of the evils got sucked into that little thing. We don't know where he went.
Right.
But it's like, fuck, they're fucked. Like they're literally fucked. If you got your ass beat by the lesser evil king,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to see these outright just evil kings, what the fuck they're gonna do.
Right.
And that's
Like, it
another
was
thing.
like
This
a
king
great
was
setup.
not at his. This king was not at his strongest.
No, he was.
This was just a tech. This was just a tech of his suit. This had nothing to do with time. In his suit, he had an anti-gravity or a gravity wave. He reminded me of Darth Vader.
Minimal resources. He built an entire empire. Minimal.
Yeah.
It's what he had lying around. This is what he did. You can imagine.
Built an army inside of a. What a
With
bunch
the
of
little scraps that he had laying around. And it's just like, for me, the buildup of what could possibly be with the ones that are out in these different timelines, it made it very scary. It kind of built it up to like, I'm excited, but I'm also very afraid of what is to happen next. And if you watch the Loki, the way he described it, like see you soon, right? It's what he said. No, what was he told Loki? See you soon?
That's what he told
see you
Sylvie.
soon.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he told her, see you
Sylvie.
soon.
Yeah, I'll
See you soon. And
See
that
you
right there
soon.
give you chills because it's like you don't even know what's coming. And again, Sylvie, rightfully so, she's like, you took my whole existence
Yeah.
away from me. I've been on the road
And
my
not just
whole
that,
life.
and also too, when Loki and what's his name, character sat there, he was like,
Wilson
you
character.
made him sound terrifying. The look in Loki's face,
Mm-hmm.
he is. It's like
That
he
is
was
real
next to
acting.
tears. It was
yeah.
like he's a thespian. Like I felt that in my soul. like yes, Loki, we should be petrified, shitting my pants. I felt that. Like it made me excited. So maybe their depiction of him showed power, and yes, it was the ants, and it wasn't, to me, and it was anticlimactic in a way, but the post-credit scenes, I felt like it did a great way of laying it up, kind of a layup for what's coming, and I'm excited about that.
Here's a question. Now, I throw this out there to anyone who wants to catch it. Do we think Kang, that version of Kang, though he may have fought the Avengers, may have not fought an Ant-Man?
I don't think he has. He didn't recognize him at all.
Yeah.
No, he still called him Ant-Man.
He called him
Like, he
Ant-Man
might have
because he
seen,
knew
like-
about him.
Yeah.
I
the
don't
news and all that.
think- Yeah, I think he's fought so many, maybe the bug guy didn't stick, like the different bug guy didn't stick out to him.
Now, I think that I guess in my opinion, I think he's fought him, but like you said, it's just been so many variations that he just doesn't remember.
Yeah.
And then it's like we get the note that Hope told Scott in Ant-Man and the Wasp when Scott was asking her, "Well, are you upset that I went to Germany without you?" And he said, "Well, if I would have asked you, would you have come?" And she said, "Well, we'll never know that, will we? But if I did come, you wouldn't have gotten caught." And I think that, and I'll get into another point that problem that I have with this movie. But if it was a situation, if it was a universe where Scott was Ant-Man, but he didn't have Hope as a Wasp, it could have been an eventuality or a variation of Scott or a different timeline, different reality where Kang fought Scott and Scott lost because he didn't have Hope. Because think what would have happened if Hope hadn't come back.
Well, let's talk about what happened to Ant-Man if Hope wasn't in this movie.
I mean, she kind of wasn't.
She saved him. She saved him more than once. She saved him at least 2 or 3 times.
Right. But the fact that she's been so important into ensuring Scott's survival, other than that, it's like they nerfed Hope. Because we saw everything that she was capable of in Ant-Man and the Wasp. And we got these 2 major moments where she saved Scott. And outside of that, they really didn't give her anything to do.
Well, aside from being at the bar when they first caught on to like Janet and her lover.
Right. But do you think that
like she had some action there?
Do you think that they could have escaped that situation without Hope? Because I feel like, they had...
No, I don't think they could have. No.
So Hank and Janet got on the ship, and sure, Hope helped. She stayed behind to cover fire.
She kept the soldiers back, right? Yeah.
I wish they would have given them more.
Hank was too busy trying to figure out how to steer the damn ship. He didn't want to put his hands all up in there.
Well, I mean, to be fair, I kind of...
I'm driving.
He became more comfortable with it. But just realistically, the first time you sitting there, the first time you do something like that, and it's like, like, what is this? As we find out that almost everything in the quantum realm is alive.
Yes.
The buildings and everything. Your buildings are alive? Are you
I
dead?
told Frankie, I was like, I want a flying house now.
Right.
Like, why is this
I want my house to be able to shoot people. That's home security.
And get up and go in the air and move somewhere else.
Yeah, that's quantum ADT.
Exactly.
Yeah. I feel like I didn't really notice that, but yeah, I feel like if you took Hope out, they were fucking screwed in reality. Like he just, but the way it's set up, it felt like that's exactly what she does. Like you need someone to watch your back.
Right.
And that's just her. like.
And I think they're trying to give Cassie more of the action stuff too, but it's also she's still learning. She doesn't know the full extent of her suit. She doesn't know the
jump and
tap.
Same time, like Mario.
You saw what I did? Yeah. Did you see that? Jump and tap. How am I supposed to see if you're like an inch tall?
I don't know if I like this Cassie. Mm-hmm. The little girl who played his daughter. I agree.
They should have.
I don't know how old she is now, but she was very snappy. She was very cheeky in the other movies. Her and Paul Rudd, they had like a really good, not chemistry, but the way her acting was really good. This Cassie, she's up there with Carol Danvers. She got to grow on me. I don't know if I feel her.
Wow.
14 now.
You know, but yeah. I don't know if I feel
little
her.
Cassie, the actress, is 14 now.
Oh, she's only 14? Okay, well, she was too young at that point.
Too young, yeah. Damn it. Okay. But I actually enjoyed that dynamic more than this one. But not to say she did horribly, but she wasn't my favorite part of the movie. That was like my least favorite part of the movie.
I feel like she's honestly just in her teenage rebellion stage, though. So that's why it's like the relationship's just not there, because he was gone for the 5 years, and also she's becoming a rebellious teenager, or is a rebellious teenager.
She don't listen.
No,
she don't.
Getting on my nerves. Like, she don't
It was like
listen.
a TikTok I saw earlier. It was a prime example of white people touching shit they're not supposed to. I was like, yep.
Exactly. Like, girl, like, you don't listen to your daddy. Yeah.
Marvel misdirects. We did not have the lines in the movie about, I don't care who he is, I lost so much time with Cassie, motivations to go and actually do this. In the movie, we actually get a threat upon Cassie's life where Kang says, I will murder your daughter and put you in a time of an infinite loop to watch her get murdered until you beg for me to kill you. Wow.
So how do we feel about that being the motivation as opposed to enticing him with the possibility of being able to get that time back? Because we do get that line, but it wasn't directed at Scott. It was directed at Janet. He told Janet, I can give you that time back. I can make it so you can go back home, because she was feeling bad because she said, I lied to Hope. I told her that I was going to come back and I can just see her waiting for me. And he said, you can go back. You can walk right through that door and it'd be like she hasn't lost a minute. So how do we feel about that motivation change?
You're not gonna like it, Spider.
I think it was
perfect.
Yeah.
And let me tell you why. Go ahead, Keisha.
No. Sorry, go ahead.
No, ladies first.
I think it was very situational. I think that's exactly what Hope needed at that time. That's what she wanted. What's a better motivator than to get her to spend more time with her daughter? That's how she felt. Get her to work on this thing. The promise of more time, but not the time she thinks, because he used a lot of kind of like, I can talk, like, time is not what you think. I give you more time.
Right.
Your timeline will be okay. It's like he's selling her on this time, like more time, but not in a way that we think of time, like in that pocket. So I think it was situational. And for Scott, he lost time with Cassie. He's trying to spend more time with Cassie, and I feel like that was an enormous start, because throughout this movie, that's all he's been trying to do was like spend more time with her, be around her. He literally lost her and lost all this amount of time with her, and I felt like Hope would have been a great person to thread, but he didn't have her in hand.
Janet.
But so he used Janet or Hope were not there, so he had his daughter, which was a great motivation, and all these Scott Langs were just, trying to, for Cassie. We're gonna get to this thing for Cassie. But I think it was very situational. He used what he had. I think Hope would have been a better motivator too, but at the same time, I feel like he just didn't have Hope. This is the only hand he had.
Right.
So I think it was a great motivator. It's when he started to crush her. I was like, oh, we not Disney. You really
I know.
This little girl.
He's like, I will kill her in front of you.
You think I'm playing? You think I'm joking?
Yeah.
This dude had a gravity, and you just slamming Scott into the wall and into the.
It was giving Darth Vader. He really was. The Force is strong with this one. He was just like.
There were a lot of Star Wars parallels in this movie.
Yes,
I
it
like how
was.
they
Yeah.
changed it though. First of all, shout out to the suit because seeing a suit in the context of it all, I thought the Marvel team makes great adaptations of adapting
It
these
looks
suits to
good.
make them look
Hit the chest.
very more practical. But
Yeah.
and the upgrades to the ant suits too, right? Because those are nice as well. But as I was saying, I like that they changed it because having him do it for Cassie, even though it's understandable as a motivation, it's not heroic. It's a selfish thing. So you're putting the lives of everybody on the line because you want more time with your daughter. They changed it and made it so if you don't do it, I'm going to kill her.
Right.
So now I have to do it to save the life of my daughter. So I think they put a lot of thought into this one. I'm not really sure why your expectations are so high, Spider.
Because I feel like if we would have gotten that complete character arc, right? Like you said, this is selfish. This is, I am going to give you more time with your daughter. And he, because of all of the stuff that he's had to go through, she's in and out of jail. She's claiming that he's not doing anything, right? And all of these things that are against him at this point, and he's enticed with that eventuality or a possibility, I can go back and I can spend all this time with her. And he even says, you know, they give her a birthday party because it's not my birthday, but I've missed a few, you know, and to be able to give him that time back, give him that selfish desire, like I can, you know, if I do this, and because they're separated, right? All he knows about Kang is that there's this dude in the quantum realm, apparently has this whole empire. He has the power to, you know, stop me because he froze him in time and space or whatever. But he doesn't know about who Kang is because he hasn't gotten that information from Hope and Janet yet. So Kang using that to his advantage because he said, oh, Janet didn't tell you about me. And he was like, no, I have no idea who you are. So he uses that to his advantage, said, look, I can manipulate time. I can give you that. You're a man who's lost a lot of time, just like I have, the way they posed it in the trailer. So I can give you that time back with your daughter. And so Scott is like, I can make this right. I can improve the relationship I have with Cassie. So he goes to do it. He goes, you know, shrinks down, tries to get the orb, goes through the whole, you know, the probability vortex and everything. He ends up getting back with Janet, with Hope, and then they tell him everything, and so that changes his mind. He's like, I have this is where his hero's arc, his hero's journey. So now I'm not selfish anymore. I could have this thing for me specifically, but no, this is more important to make sure that he doesn't get this thing. So I felt like that would have been a more complete story. Not necessarily better, I should say, a more complete story.
Let me say that if that was the route that they went to, you would have made Scott Lang the bad guy, and here's why. When you were outside of the quantum realm, doing your podcasts and your book deals and your book readings and your signings, you have time. You're there now.
No, but that's not
Why
the same.
Why isn't Cassie the more important thing now?
Because
you should be spending all the time with her now.
We don't see that because obviously they still have a good relationship because we see how much Scott still means to Cassie. It's just we don't get to see all of that stuff. So he's saying that, you know, Janet's doing this, Hank is doing this, Hope is doing this is what he's doing. You know, he's finally enjoying life, enjoying this peace. But the movie decides to not give us that relationship between Scott and Cassie. So
and Cassie.
Well, what I'm saying is
that's what I'm saying.
It's not going to make him.
That's your main motivator, but then you should be there then.
But it's not going to make him a bad guy because the thing about it is not that he's not there for her, but she wants him to be doing more than what he's doing now because in her mind, he's not doing enough. And so having that perspective, because we're looking at all of this through Scott's perspective, and so having him look at that is, I don't think it would made him appear like a bad guy. It seems like a father who missed a lot of time. Like Michelle said, these are her rebellious teenage years. So it's not that she's not going to be rebellious, but the fact that at least he'll keep her out of jail, right? He could have been there for her more formative years rather than, you know, her not necessarily getting an answer. Those 5 years, we don't know if her mom was still there. We don't know if she was just stuck with Paxton. We don't know who she was stuck with for those 5 years. So whatever could have happened, And like she said, because even she said, if I would have had this, quantum telescope, those 5 years where you were gone, I would have been able to find you. Right? So it's like all of these little seeds that were dropped in before they went into the quantum realm to put in that, those hits of guilt, because it seemed like that was an alternate storyline they could have went with. Like they had the part with Kang and Scott and what he threatened them with, what he decided to threaten them with. But it seemed like everything that was built up before then, with her not listening, with her not wanting to, take his advice, it seemed like that was planting those seeds to where I'm going to use this as a motivation, because you can get this time back. You can make these decisions that'll allow Cassie to be closer to you in present day that you didn't get because you were gone for 5 years. So I don't think it would have made him a villain. I think it would have made him, like I said, it would have made him seem selfish. But then when we get to that Act 3 turnaround and the revelation of who Kang is, then that would have been his redemption arc to his complete storyline.
Interesting. I agree to disagree.
That's fair. Absolutely.
In fact, they didn't tell her daddy that she had a suit.
They didn't tell her daddy nothing. They didn't tell Scott anything.
On Scott. There was a lot of shit on Scott in this movie. I mean, Scott's trying to promote his book. He's doing book signings and readings. He's got a podcast.
He was.
Which we already.
The Hollywood story.
Yeah, Spider and I talked about it. The Avengers apparently don't make a lot of money.
They don't. We saw that in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. They don't make shit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so you got to do something to make money. I mean, Pym has the whole company, and Hope has a company as well. Clearly, they're doing well, and so he's got to do something to make some bread. So, peaceful protest.
You gotta keep.
First of all, for the peaceful, how
guy.
long she had this suit? Because if she had this suit at the protest and she got caught, I feel like that was her own fault. She could have just and got out of there.
I mean, apparently it was because
she was the only one that got caught.
They picked her from jail. They had dinner. They went down to the basement to go look at the machine, and then they got something in the quantum realm. So when she was in the quantum realm with the suit, so apparently she had the suit on her. She just didn't use it.
Hey, that's not something that you could teach. You gotta be quick on it.
But I mean, the thing about it is, you think about protests and activists. They get arrested because they want to use it as an example. It's like, I'm here peacefully protesting because, like she said, she was trying to protest because they were trying to. I forgot exactly what she was saying, but about the homeless community in the city. They were trying to basically move them out of their homeless camps, but
clear them out, yeah,
but they didn't have anywhere else to go. So she's like, yes, I want to be arrested because I want to show it as an example. Here I am peacefully protesting, and you're using unnecessary force and putting me in jail. So I don't think she was trying to, necessarily get away from it.
We need to rethink that strategy. Because,
but I mean, apparently it's not the first time she's been in jail. So.
Yeah, she was not.
And if she used a suit, that would have been a resisting arrest and all that. It would have just been worse. So
I feel like she wasn't my most favorite character, at all.
She had some good lines and good quips.
Yeah, but
like what? Stop being a dick. We get
it's never too late to stop being a dick.
I was watching the movie and I heard that line. I'm like, I'm gonna tweet that after this. I love it. And watching it. 20 minutes before the movie ended, the movie finishes. I completely forgot what the tweet was. I had to go look through Twitter again to figure out what the quote was. I'm just like, hate it.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, Darren Cross shows up as MODOK. He shows his little
he did his thing.
Butt and little legs.
One of my favorite parts. Yeah.
CGI wise on MODOK Spider.
Hate it.
Do we nail it?
I hate it. Absolutely hate it.
It wasn't as good as the Mr. Electric one from Shark Boy and Lava Girl.
Then that's a problem. Because what year did Shark Boy and Lava Girl come out?
Like
2005.
2005.
Yeah, so you're talking about almost 20 years of CG technology and the way that things have improved, and all you could do is just stretch its face across his machine.
It looked like you literally took a picture of a tire. You know, like when you're in on your Mac or your PC and you put a picture and you're like, do you want to stretch it? Do you want to make the checkered board with it? It looked like they just took that image and just hit stretch
it out.
That's essentially what they did.
Exactly. I mean, I loved his actual costume. That once his face was covered,
once the mask was on, it looked great.
It looked so stupid.
Once he put the mask, but it's like, I don't
I know
know.
that's what the character is supposed to be. It's just such a stupid looking character. Because you see the little arms and legs.
But it seemed like it was
one of the
almost two
most
different
challenging
personalities.
things from Darren to now to MODOK.
No, from MODOK with his mask on to Darren without the mask on, because it's like he came up.
He's an Avenger now.
I'm going to talk about that line in a second, but because I have some questions. But so he's got the mask on, and he's the mechanism only designed. What is the mechanized organism designed only for killing? And like Scott said, well, that would be MODOK. Not MODOK. But so he is basically Kang's weapon, right? He's his search and destroy weapon, and so we see
He does not speak when Kane is in the room.
That was another terrifying part where he was about to say something and Kang was just like, out.
Nope.
I was like, oh shit. But so he goes to find Hank. Hank's flying the ship and he's got the mask on and he's ready to destroy him, and he stops, he pulls the mask up and he's like, hi Hank. And and it's just like the attitude, the ferocity is just all gone, and Darren is just like this happy-go-lucky person. And I do love everybody's reaction that they have to seeing his face. Scott saw, he was like, Darren, what happened to you? And that was literally everybody's reaction. Hank was in the ship, Darren? And Hope saw was like,
love the consistency.
Everybody that saw his face, they had our reactions like, you do not look good.
No.
But it was like when his mask was on, he was just brutal, ruthless, killing everybody in his wake. His little buzzsaws came out. Yeah, they came out. He was ready to kill everybody. He lifted the mask up. He's not even the Darren Cross from Ant-Man, because the Darren Cross from Ant-Man was still cold, calculating, very methodical. He didn't have much of
He's losing his mind down there.
This is very true. Very true. They said that.
Here's my question. So we get to the situation where Cassie is, MODOK is chasing Cassie. Cassie gets the best of him. She knocks him down, beats him. He's sitting there bloody. He's like, come back. We're not done. You want a piece of this? I can still fight. And she's like, Darren, just stop. And it was almost heartbreaking because he was like, I don't know what to do. Tell me what to do. And it's like, and I guess, babe, to your point, he's losing his mind. He doesn't have a sense of identity anymore.
Yeah.
And that's horrible because he's been in there. He's been in the quantum realm for at least
who knows how long,
right? Because he could have slipped into a time vortex. Because we saw the ants apparently live thousands of years to where they created their own technocratic civilization. But so
will we see that society again? That ant society?
I don't think so.
Okay,
because I feel like they paid
a lot of build-up.
They paid so little attention to it. I don't think they're gonna bring it back.
It was a lot of build-up, but it was really just for that final fight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Hank just walking in and hearing the ants.
What was the guy with the hair dryer on his head?
I don't know.
Fire? I cried when he died. I was sad about him dying. Like a turbo engine on his head. I don't know what the hell that thing is called.
I hear Frankie in your microphone, Keisha, and he's laughing so loud that his own microphone is cutting him off, but I can hear him in your microphone. That's how loud I know he's laughing.
I'm laughing in different realms. I'm laughing in the quantum realm.
It's like you're right here, babe.
Thank you. This is a real laugh. That was really funny because the guy, I thought he had a
Zolom, that's what it is.
Zolom?
Oh, okay.
Zolom, XOLUM.
Kane murked the hell out of him. He was unalive. I was like, oh my God. He was going in on those people. He was going in.
Yeah.
He got angry.
He mowed
through them.
Just mowed them down. Just freedom fighters just getting not existing in time.
Right.
The character that carried the movie was Veb, though.
Oh God.
Yes.
He finally got his holes in the end.
The little slime.
You're
drinking my goo.
How many holes do you have? And
stop asking people about how many holes they have.
Your face. It's like he got 7. He has 7 holes.
So here's the thing. So I'll finish my thought about MODOK. But my question is, because like I said, we got Cassian, we got the line, in him not knowing who he is, and so he comes back. My name is Darren, and he goes to help defeat Kang, and I'll at least allow the
And he's not a dick.
and he's not a dick.
He's not a dick.
But so here's my question, and it's just for, I guess, my own clarification. So because and it's probably there's no real answer to it because we don't really know what he knows and what he doesn't know. But so he fought Scott in the first Ant-Man, got sucked into the quantum realm, or got shrank into the quantum realm. Since then, Scott went to Germany, fought with Captain America, had his little, Ant-Man and the Wasp adventure and everything, got sucked into the quantum realm, came out in Endgame, fought. So at either point, whether it was when Scott fought with Captain America in Germany or when Scott fought with all of the Avengers in Ant-Man, because like you said, Mr. VIP, when Captain America said Avengers assemble and everybody that was there, they're all Avengers, right? So does Darren have knowledge of those events? Because before then, if he only had knowledge of the Avengers at that point in time were just the 6 Avengers: Iron Man, Thor, Captain America, Black Widow, Hulk, Hawkeye. It was just those 6. And so by the time he went into the quantum realm, if he did not have any knowledge of the outside world, why would he say I've died as an Avenger? Because he wouldn't have
Might
known.
have heard it from Kane.
I guess, maybe.
He was serving Kane for like 10 years, so he might have heard it from Kane talking about it, and so.
I was about to say, do you really feel like Kang would share that information with him? But do you say he might have overheard
sure, like, a
it?
lot about it, but like
I mean,
I'm
he
sure
killed
he's
a lot of
mentioned.
Avengers.
Yeah, so I'm sure he's mentioned like he's killed Avengers and all that before.
But
and
then
then
that also goes
Darren
to
probably had questions.
it because we know that Kang had been in the quantum realm. We don't know how long Janet had been in there before Kang crash landed. But so he had been in there at least, some years after Janet, and then even however many years after they got Janet out. I don't know. It just, like I said, because we don't know who knows what or what you're able to know about. And it's even still, if you heard it from Kang, he heard him talking about the Avengers, just because Scott, and it goes to like the question we had earlier, does he recognize Scott as Ant-Man, or does he just know that there is an Ant-Man in the Avengers? But hearing Kang talk about it, it just seems like it seemed like it was an unearned statement to say, a funny statement, but I feel like it was unearned because you gotta, in that moment, you're trying to connect the dots. Is like, how would he know about the Avengers? How would he know that Scott's an Avenger? Why would he think that just because he died because he helped him, that would make him an Avenger? Unless he had knowledge about Scott's universe and them fighting Thanos and them all becoming Avengers because of that distinct. Because we still don't really get confirmation that Scott's an actual Avenger because he hasn't done anything else with the Avengers since then.
What?
And in the movie, has Scott done anything else with any other Avenger since Endgame? No.
When Anthony Mackie,
but he still did stuff with them in Endgame, so people know him from that.
To fight with Captain America in Germany,
right?
He was an Avenger.
So that's when he was an Avenger.
That's when he became an Avenger.
Some people assume it. Because like, you could argue Spider-Man's not an Avenger.
No, Spider-Man was. They distinctly said in the movie, Tony Stark said, "You are hereby an Avenger."
Okay. I make you an Avenger.
So an Avenger has to make you an Avenger. So Wanda was an Avenger
technically.
Because the only reason I'm saying that it has to be that way because they've done it in that way. You're an Avenger. That's the way that they framed it in the movie. So that's all I'm saying. Mm-hmm. That's the way that they framed it in the movie. And we never had a distinct scene where somebody said that Scott was an Avenger.
So is Yelena Belova an Avenger?
Right now in the MCU, there isn't Cat Cam. I diggle. But as an MCU context, no, Yelena's not an Avenger. Yelena's not an Avenger. Bucky isn't even an Avenger. They never said, Bucky, you're an Avenger now.
Bucky was right there on the line when Thanos came.
I'm not saying that they weren't on the line. They were all on the line. One was on the line. Doctor Strange was on the line. Spider-Man, Peter Quill,
Avenger.
all of them are on the line.
Avenger.
Everybody's Avenger, an Avenger.
Well,
Avenger?
all I'm saying is if that they want to move forward and they say that everybody that was, then that means that all of the Ravagers, everybody in Wakanda, all of the, basically everybody that came to help fight, are they all Avengers now?
Yeah, but there's no dental plan in the Avengers or anything, so it's not like you get real benefits. It's not like you can put Avengers on a bank loan and get,
But I
some
mean,
dividend.
if you go out on the street and you ask any casual viewer of these movies and you say, is M'Baku an Avenger?
No.
Goddamn right he is.
Most
You see
people are
him
going to
take
say
that
no.
punch, take that punch to Namor for take it to the chest. That'll make you an Avenger, goddamn.
And he's vegan.
He is vegan.
And the vegan Avenger might be the first vegan Avenger.
I don't think he's the first vegan Avenger. I'm sure there are a lot of different vegan Avengers. But
Like who?
I don't know. I don't know all the Avengers off the top of my head. But apparently everybody in Wakanda is an Avenger, so I'm sure that they're going to be more vegans.
They all, the Dora Milaje are Avengers too, and they find themselves
But what
wherever
I'm
they
saying
need to
is
be.
that you're saying that everybody that was on the line fighting Thanos in that battle in the Endgame, they're all Avengers because
Bruce Banner is vegan.
Oh, I see.
What need they confirm
no. Well, unless those were plant-based sausages that he was eating in that diner.
Might have
They're
been.
vegan.
Can you not step on my keyboard?
I just saw a black blur go across the
I know, right?
Wherever I
It's
find
close to dinner
myself.
time.
Mhm.
So, are you really don't want MODOK to be an Avenger? Is what I'm hearing.
I'm not
it's just-
saying
he
that.
just
I'm just
saying-
saying that it
he
felt
was
like it was
saying, how
unearned
did he
because there's
have
so many
knowledge?
questions. How did he know
How
about
did he have knowledge that
Michelle
Ant-Man was
answered
an
that question
Avenger?
because I'm quite 100% sure Kane not
Based
sitting
on
on that
how
throne
Kane
by
was
himself.
talking to him,
I don't think he
was
even
just
I don't
going
think
around
Kang even
sharing
wanted
this
MODOK in a
information.
room with him when he was having conversations.
No.
Kang is the one that made MODOK what he is. He found him in his deformed little butt out state
So he's Kane's
and
child.
created this chair.
But was Hawaii.
It was a little weird, but
It's a little butt with little legs, and little hands, with a huge brain.
Yeah.
He made this chair and this contraption for him, and clearly they had conversation. But
don't think they
make
did,
no
though.
mistake, you're my lackey. You're not on the same level as me. So therefore, when you and I'm in a room, you don't talk when I'm in a room, and we saw that. So
I don't know.
I agree with Michelle. I think he in conversation, the
maybe he
Avengers have come up.
overheard. Maybe he was like ear hustling and overheard it. But I don't think Kane was just out here having conversations with him.
Let's not dispute the fact that MODOK has the ability with tech. He was the one that discovered Cassie's signal. So clearly, somewhere along the line, he can hear or get news feeds, or maybe he has TikTok, or I
Not the
don't know.
news
Well, I mean, but the
feeds.
thing about it is he can hear because of Cassie's machine. Before then, he said, I would have not found you if not for the machine. So thank you for that. And so before then, he had no connection with
Link to that side.
the top side world.
In the quantum
And
scroll.
that's another thing. So we get Kang is supposed to be like super intelligent. He's supposed to be like smarter than Thanos, smarter than Iron Man, one of the smartest beings in the universe.
You didn't get that?
What I'm saying is that no, I definitely got that because there's no way that anybody else, I don't think either Iron Man or Thanos would have been able, probably not even Reed Richards, but would have been able to create a whole civilization, create this whole like realm, this whole empire in the quantum realm. Kang is definitely intelligent, but what I'm saying is that as intelligent as he is, was there no way for him, because they created the whatever solution that they needed to power his battery for his chair in order for him to escape, and had Janet not, increase the size of it and make it unusable, then he would have been able to get out. But with all of his knowledge, would have all because they really made it seem like whatever they needed was in the quantum realm, because we don't know the science as an audience. We don't know the science that it takes to make up all of this
Rick and
stuff.
Morty polar fluid.
Right.
That's
but
what it is.
as smart as Kang is, could he have not reversed? Because I mean, Thanos reverse engineered Pym particles in order to go back in time and they fight at the end game. Could Kang not reverse engineer Pym particles?
I think it was more about resource too, right?
But they had the
Because
resources
what was
to
available.
make.
But
He
here's
made
the
an entire city.
Yeah,
Here's
but
the thing.
whatever
I think
he
there was a
had.
curse on him because he didn't do a
Yeah,
damn
he was
thing.
banished.
Janet did.
Janet did it. I think
Janet did
whatever banishment they did limited whatever
His ability, right?
with his spaceship thingy. I think he was able to create other things, but I think somehow when they banished him, because she's the one that actually composed and was
So is Janet smarter than Kang?
No, I think he was colder.
I think in this situation, whatever he needed to get back on his ship or his chair was kind of blocked for him, because I didn't see him really working on anything.
No, he was not.
So he was supposed to crash, land, and never to revive that chair again. But I don't think it disabled. Well, this is just me trying to make sense of the movie, trying to make it make sense, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But I think when he crash landed, I'm going to try to connect the dots here.
Magic.
I think
Go for it.
he was, because of science, he was banished. So, of course, he's powerful. They would think he could get out of anywhere.
Right.
So there had to be some type of something blocking, stopping him from
So now we're combining
recreating
science
that.
and magic.
Exactly.
Where I'm from, they're one and the same.
So here's my thing.
So that's the only thing, because if you think back, he didn't really put anything together. She was the one, because he said when they were sitting down talking, he was like, all right, let's get back to work.
Mm-hmm.
And she was actually the one, not to say that he didn't participate, because it is his ship. I'm not sure she knew. Maybe he had to tell her how things work or figure it out. But she was actually mixing and, coming up with whatever source he needed to power it.
Okay.
Right. I was waiting for him to have that hammer like Iron Man.
It didn't seem like he was a huge participant in it. Because even when she was loading it, he just sat in his chair. Like, he was literally just kind of like, maybe he was not able to, is what I'm thinking.
So
because if I'm thinking back to the movie.
But as a man who's traveled multiple universes, multiple timelines,
you would think it would have been light work, right? It should have been light work.
Not even for him, because we'll go with the notion that he's forbidden from modifying or working on his chair for whatever reason. So he got Janet in order. He advised her on the different formulas. They figured out whatever resources would work. The combined intellect between the two of them, they were able to get the orb working back again in order for him to get out until Janet, literally blew it up. But so in all the time that Janet had been gone, or Janet had been on the run, I should say, and for him to create this entire fortress, empire, this city that he's created, did he not have anyone, if he's forbidden from working on tech, did he not have anyone who he could have enlisted? Because apparently he enlisted Bill Murray to do whatever Bill Murray was doing. But could he not have enlisted someone to reverse engineer the Pym particles in order to shrink his orb back down? That's what I'm saying, because this is a man of massive intellect, of a genius level intellect. He's the smartest being in existence, but he couldn't figure out how to do that. He had to have either Janet or Hank or Scott or one of them to be able to shrink it back down.
There were ruins on his thing. They were blocking it. That's what that was.
Yeah, that's what it was.
It was Agatha all along.
It was all along.
Oh my god.
So I agree with Keisha, because I understand what you're saying. Why didn't he just utilize somebody else? There had to be something blocking him from actually doing it. And the contraption was blown up at that point in time. There was nothing you can.
if he had the ability to recreate it, he wouldn't have needed her.
That's what
he
I'm saying. I don't.
needed her. I think it was something that there's something more that was happening. If they banished him into this realm, so he couldn't get out, something was binding him there. Something was stopping him
maybe
there.
Odin's curse.
It's the ruins.
He couldn't pick up the hammer.
It's the ruins.
No, he couldn't pick up the.
I get, and I understand what y'all are saying. I really do. It's just
it
wasn't clearly stated in the movie. And yes, you don't have to clearly state everything, but it didn't make sense to me where you have this person with genius level intellect, because it was the whole thing about both Ant-Man movies. Nobody else can recreate what Hank has done and create pin particles. Darren Cross couldn't do it, so that's why he had so much trouble. Bill couldn't do it, well, until he did, and then the suit got destroyed. Well, the suit got destroyed
until he did.
Yeah. But and the thing about it is, like, all of the research got, well, in the first Ant-Man, all of his research got erased, so any trace of him recreating the formula was gone, except for the one guy who left with it and never to be heard from again. And then in Ant-Man and the Wasp, Bill couldn't recreate the pin particles to help Ghost. Ghost had to steal the lab in order for them to get the quantum energy in order to stop her from phasing. Birch's buyer wanted the particles because they knew about the shrinking and growing tech. But basically nobody else, at least on our Earth, at least from what we know of in Universe 636, can recreate the pin particles. 616. I'm sorry, 616. And so
we might be on a different timeline now.
Maybe. But you just think, like I said, because Kang has traveled multiple dimensions, multiple universes, multiple realities, and he has all this intelligence, I just felt like even if he can't work on it himself, why can't he just tell other people how to do it? Because he's gotten this entire civilization that he's created. To me, it didn't make sense to why he wasn't able to do it. I don't think he came
across Ant-Man, though. I don't think he came across these particles.
He had to have known about Ant-Man to call him Ant-Man. That's all I'm saying. And what universe is there in Ant-Man that doesn't shrink to an ant size?
I think Ant-Man introduced himself as Ant-Man. He says, I'm an Avenger.
He says, I'm an Avenger, but he doesn't call himself Ant-Man. He doesn't say, I'm Ant-Man.
You know what? I need to go right back to the theater and watch this again. We're watching again.
No.
Hey, Jonathan Majors is in it.
Did you see the magazine shoot he did in the pink sweater?
I did. It was very fluffy. It's based. I think the photographer said he dressed him up like an anime character, and they this I forgot the name of the anime, but it was inspired by
pink
some
sweater
anime.
guy.
I have not seen this.
Well, no, the guy was like in like some kind of feather sweater, jeans, and boots, and like shirtless. It looked similar. Yeah. So
I know not right now, but I can send it to you for later.
Yeah. So yeah, but I did see the very pink feathered jacket. Yes, there you go.
Okay, so while you guys cream over Jonathan, the question
Stop.
Speak for yourself. So well, the question I'm asking, what are we doing with the freedom fighters, the rebellion society that's living in the quantum realm now that they're set free? Is it happy ever after? Well, that's a great question because
like, how did they get down there?
I mean, Bill Murray said he looks like a human, but he's not a human. But we don't know.
He's not a human.
And he was drinking a little baby octopus.
It looks so sad. Did you see her eyes? They were on the glass. Like, please.
I was so happy when they made it grow and eat them all.
She whooped everybody's ass.
Justice.
But it looks so sad. And then another sad part when, like we said, how Kang was kind of decimating the whole rebellion, when one of the houses was like holding the other house in its arms because it died. I was sitting next to a couple in the theater and I saw that. I was like, oh.
It was so sad. It was just so sad.
You guys are saying this when you turn around and saying you don't take Kane as a threat. I think
I'm not saying that I don't take Kane as a threat. I'm saying that nobody said that he wasn't a threat. I'm just saying that they really didn't showcase well all of the aspects of how dangerous he could be. Yeah, they showed him being brutal. Yeah, they showed him being able to like be threatening and all this other kind of stuff. But I feel like there was so much more, and maybe just because we didn't have enough time in the movie to go into it. But
here's the
being
thing.
able, I went into the movie thinking that there was no way that Kang was going to be defeated. And like I said, this was before the post credit scene. And I didn't know that we were going to get the Council of Kings. And I really don't think he was defeated, because like we've said before when we were talking about the Multiverse of Madness, you don't see a body, it's not a death. So he may have been shrunken down, and it may just be like how he originally was banished to a quantum realm. Now he's shrunken down into a further quantum realm. And it's just basically because that orb, they say it operated outside of time and space and reality. So that's why we got the probability storm for Ant-Man and Wasp. When they went in there, you're seeing all of these different probabilities. So I think that he is now in a probability storm, and now there are an infinite number of Kangs within this probability storm outside of where we see the Council of Kangs in this stadium. So I definitely don't think he's dead.
At the same time, Ant-Man said, when we all want the same thing, they can all work together. So think about those infinite amount of kings all wanting the same thing, which is to get out.
Right.
I think he's going to get out. Another thing, we have quite possibly been looking at the lesser evil of all the kings.
Oh, I agree with that 100%.
Him doing all of that might have been him showing restraint.
Okay.
Like when Wanda said, I'm being
generous.
This is me being, he might have been holding back. So imagine these other kings that have no qualms with killing.
They were like a whole. It felt like a Freaknik with a bunch of kudos. They were barking. They were barking. I was like, oh my God, we're about to die. I'm scared for my life. It was terrible.
And at any point in time, these kings can traverse through the multiverse.
Cause them up.
Which brings me to the dynasty.
Oh, okay.
There's no possible way that we're going to be able to follow one storyline with these kings. We're going to have to get a Young Avengers version, and then a West Coast Avengers potentially.
Signed up for?
It was 9, right?
It was a nine picture deal.
So does that
so
include?
We're going to get more kings.
Does that include TV shows as well, or is that just 9 movies?
I'm not sure how they break it down, but it's clear that he's going to be in Loki season 2.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I would be shocked if he was not anywhere in Loki season 2.
Let's be realistic. When you get the Fantastic Four, there's going to be a tie-in of Kang, which is going to show some displacement of why we haven't seen the Fantastic Four in all this time. They got to be trapped outside of time.
I think they're going to use that as an explanation as to why we haven't seen a lot of previously unusable Marvel characters who are now able to be used because of the acquisition of all these different movie studios. I think they're going to use different, of course, and they kind of already did that in Multiverse of Madness, where we saw Professor X, we saw Reed Richards, we saw Captain Carter, we saw Lashana Lynch as Captain Marvel. So they have sort of an explanation as to, because it's a different timeline, we can see different characters. But I think that's how they're going to explain, Deadpool and X-Men, Fantastic Four, all of these other characters that we are able to use now. We're having Wonder Man being brought into the universe now, and it's like all of these different characters never been heard of before that are now able to be used.
I've heard of Wonder Man.
What? A lot of people have heard of Wonder Man. I'm saying the general public.
Outside of us.
The general public. Yes, I wasn't referencing you. I'm saying that
he was triggered.
The people who didn't know who Shang-Chi was before Shang-Chi got a movie.
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah, the general population. I mean, people like us. Yeah, I'm sorry if you're offended.
I think you were the one that was offended. I know who Wonder Man is.
I'm apologizing to myself then, because for those who don't know, Wonder Man and Vision has a deep connection. In fact, Vision got his personality from Wonder Man in the comics, but that's neither here nor there. They're just giving you context.
So, what do y'all think about the post-credit? I have my own thoughts on what they're gonna do.
What are those thoughts? Throw your theory out there.
I feel like they're going to the very first Kang that was messing around with time. and try to stop him before his variants start populating, because they seem like they start populating really fast and populating.
Is the first king he who remains?
I don't know anything about that. Why are you asking all these hard questions?
The Kane that was at the end of Loki season 1 was He Who Remains. Do we? Is there a possibility?
Oh, I don't know.
First Kane is the last Kane?
This guy that they showed in the second post-credit scene looked older than the Kang. So I don't know if this is Papa Kang or who this is.
Wait, which one?
Hilarious about Papa Kang.
The one in the second post-credit scene, he had like gray hair. It doesn't look like
the
this
one with the Frederick Douglass haircut.
Yeah, there you go.
Victor Tyner.
I don't know if this is Papa Kang or this is like.
No, I don't think. No, I don't think that was the first Kang. I think
Kang already said he's way older than what he looks.
Right.
He
and
says.
So I don't think we can take our own concept of time and think that because this was like back in the 1900s, like 1910s, that was the first Kang. Because one of the Kang variants was Pharaoh Ramatut, and this was for all the way from ancient Egypt. So, but we already know that Ramatut wasn't the first Kang because that was just a Kang that just happened to drop down in ancient Egypt, and he was like, "Oh shit, I could be the most powerful person here, so I'm gonna be a pharaoh and just tell all y'all motherfuckers what to do." And I don't know. I think He Who Remains might have been the first one. He might have been because he was the one that was outside of time.
Maybe.
And this is interesting. This is what I like about what Marvel's doing. There's so many question marks around these situations that I was telling Keisha, a great movie I have you talking about it outside of the theater. I'm triggered. A great movie to have you conversating about it outside of, I'll tell you later, outside of the theater, because there's all these question marks are coming up. It's like, okay, well, if this Kang came here, what happened that made him lose dominance or conquering to a point that we got another Kang that took over? And how long did they reign supreme? Will we be looking at a Genghis Khan Kang? Pharaoh Ramatut Kang, obviously, but we'll be looking at, because Marvel like to tie some of these real world events into their storylines. What did the Avengers defeat? Are we going to be looking at?
Is this Kang y'all talking about the one that was in the post-credit scene? The Pharaoh? Is that him?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
The one with the golden scars. That was Pharaoh Ramatut.
Yeah.
Somebody said that the Kang that we saw in Quantumania could be the Kang of He Who Remains. I disagree with that, and I just want to throw that out there.
Remains? It's not the same.
Yeah, because the Kang, it's not the same because he don't have the scars.
Yeah, He Remains didn't have any scars. And we saw that because the futuristic Kang, who some people are saying is the Scarlet Centurion, that one also didn't have scars. And I don't think the leader one that they were sort of revering as the one in charge, that one is being considered to be Immortus. He also didn't have scars.
Somebody's going to have to weaponize Goliath. Will we get a story on how that happened? Goliath being the timeline-eating puff of smoke cloud.
Well, that one was already in the void. Yeah, they already weaponized Goliath. He Who Remains weaponized Goliath. He was the one that was keeping all the timelines in check. So you saying somebody's going to have to get Goliath out of the void in order to defeat Kang? Or to defeat the Council of Kangs?
Goliath.
I mean, other than Loki, nobody knows that Goliath exists.
And how do you weaponize Goliath? Oh, Sylvie touched Goliath and she was able to, Sylvie was mind controlling a lot of people in Loki season 1.
This is true.
Maybe we can see that happen. It's a lot of unanswered questions that Michelle's not answering, and I just don't know why.
Why am I supposed to answer?
Because you know.
And so
Michelle.
here's the thing. So as to the point of what you said, a good movie will have you leaving the theater and theorizing about what's going to happen next. And
In a good way.
That's what I'm about to say. There's a difference between, and that's why I framed it as theorizing. There's a difference between theorizing and questioning like plot holes. Right. So you if you come out of a movie and you're asking us like, and that's kind of where I was asking questions as to why they chose to go in this direction, or why they chose to portray this character this way, or why they chose this specific form of dialogue for this character. Yes, I still have my theories about where Phase 5 is going to go, but I still had questions, and as you can hear, all of the questions that I had, it seems like I left with more questions about the movie itself than questions to the future of the MCU, and I think that was one of the low points for me, is that I was questioning, well, why did it change the dialogue from what we saw in the trailer to what we saw in the movie? Why did it, Janet just, for whatever reason, piss me the hell off? Be like, I'm not going to tell you all of this vital information that you need to know going into
like
this new area.
Exactly. Into the movie.
Because I'm trying to protect you. It's one of those tropes that I hate the most. But I left the movie with a lot of questions as to why they chose this. And like you said, I don't think that I feel like they did Kang a disservice, because just as, and Michelle, I talked about this before, this is the 31st MCU movie. This is
I saw thinking about that, because it's also Baskin Robbins mixed in.
Yeah, so the number of flavors that Baskin Robbins has. Baskin Robbins always finds out. But not only is this the 31st MCU movie, but this is the, I believe, 41st or 42nd MCU property that has come out when we count all of the Disney Plus shows. And after all this time, you still have people in the movie theater, as soon as it say Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, people get up and leave. And it's like, do you not know what a post-credit scene is? But for those people,
or they stay for the one post-credit scene and they just leave after that. And just
rest of the credits, yeah. But for those people, because like I said, until I saw the mid-credit scene and we saw the Council of Kangs, if I were to leave as soon as, at the end of the birthday party and the credits started to roll, if I were to leave that, I would have left that and said, well, shit, I thought Kang was supposed to be this big bad and they just killed him. Like, as a non-MCU fan, as a general audience viewer, I would have left the movie thinking, oh, well, shit, well, Kang is dead. So how is there going to be a Kang dynasty if Kang just died? And I would have just left, okay, well, he got sucked into, or got shrunken into a mini universe, so he's going to come back in a future film. But I would have just left just knowing, just having that theory in my brain. But I just feel like
there is a microverse.
There is. There's a lot of different verses. There's all kind of universes.
Oh yeah.
But Swiss of East and Timberland.
But I just felt like I said, for me personally, going into the movie, and maybe I hyped it up too much for myself, but
you just got high standards. That's all.
I just felt like, no, it's not even about my standards. It's about all the press material, all the promotions, all of the trailers and everything that made Kang look, all of the leading up to Quantumania, they made Kang look as dangerous as he actually is. And I just felt like in the movie, they dialed it back a little bit. And it didn't didn't make me as afraid, just because of the fact that he
murdered people in cold blood.
But the fact that he was able to be defeated,
even away. He was what I'm saying, in their back.
Yeah, and people were running away from Yellow Jacket. He's not as dangerous as Kang.
Ran away from Yellow Jacket.
The family, when he dropped into the pool, and they ran away.
Yeah, he didn't murder them.
But what I'm saying, he still murdered people. He murdered the pilot in the helicopter.
Unintentionally.
But he still did it. What I'm saying is, we know.
He knowingly murdered these people.
What I'm saying is, there's been multiple villains who have knowingly murdered people. There have been multiple villains in the MCU that have murdered people. You want to go through the list? I can list.
I want to know who purposefully murdered someone by shooting them in the back as far as a villain.
Probably.
Take your time.
He wasn't.
Kang was seeing
Whiplash.
these guys running away.
Yes, I understand.
And
But what
he-
I'm saying, I'm not saying that he's not dangerous. I'm not saying that he's not ruthless. What I'm saying is that Kang is supposed to be the most powerful being in the universe, Thanos level, and he was defeated.
Not at this level. Not at this level. We already agreed he's depowered. He has very
Right.
minimum
And so
tech.
what
He
I'm-
just got his suit.
What I'm saying is that before the post-credit scene, that's saying that the reason that the containment of the movie, the containment in the movie, if it ended there before the post-credit scene, before we see the Council of Kang, we see this Kang get defeated. And if we have no prior knowledge about the MC, but what I'm saying is if we have no prior knowledge about the MCU or Marvel Universe in the comics as a whole, and we don't know that there are other variants of Kang. I never watched Loki, but I was like, hey, I liked Ant-Man. I was all right with Ant-Man and the Wasp. I want to go see Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. So I'm going in with just the knowledge of these two movies because I like Paul Rudd. And so I see this, and I was like
Paul Rudd.
who doesn't like Paul Rudd? But I see this, and so I look at Kang, and I'm hearing all of this stuff about Kang being so dangerous, and it looks to be as if he's defeated. Until, as the general audience viewer, until I see that he comes back in a future property, my brain says that he's defeated. And I don't think that Kang should have been defeated. I went into this movie thinking that there was going to be no way, like you say, I thought Ant-Man was going to die. I thought somebody from Team Ant-Man was going to die. Whether it was Hank, whether it was Janet, whether it was Hope, whether it was Scott, one of them was going to die. I didn't think Cassie was going to die because we know we got Young Avengers coming in the future. But I thought somebody was going to die. That was the ruthlessness that I thought that I was going to see. That there was no way that Kang, whether he was trapped in the quantum realm still or whether he got out, I thought that at the end of the movie we were going to see Kang standing tall because he killed somebody from Team Ant-Man and he was going to go on to do his thing and, come back in Kang Dynasty and, do some more shit. But like I said, after we see the post-credit scene or the mid-credit scene, we get the Council of Kang. It's like, okay, Kang Dynasty, sort of like the Age of Ultron. It's not just one Ultron, it's a whole bunch of Ultrons.
It really doesn't matter if that Kang died. There's so many different versions and the worst ones out there.
What I'm saying,
I understand what you're saying for the general public.
Right.
If you didn't stay, you didn't get that. But here's the thing, like you said, all these innovations of MCU movies, if you don't know that you're supposed to stay for the post-credit scene and the mid-credit scene, then you're at a disadvantage. I think Disney, MCU, Marvel as a whole gave up the idea of you paying attention to all of these properties. If you didn't watch it, you didn't watch it. And they're moving on. They're telling their story. Because if you didn't watch Loki and you see Loki at the end of the Kang, the end of Quantumania, you're like, oh, hey, it's Loki. Oh, wait.
I haven't seen him since Endgame.
Yeah.
Why is he with Owen Wilson?
I thought he died. Didn't Thanos snap his neck? So it's not
Well,
like,
no,
you know what I'm saying?
he snapped his neck in Infinity War. He came back in Endgame because he had the Tesseract and he popped smoke.
Yeah, but at the same time, that was a flashback.
Right.
So
But,
you just knew he was
you
gone.
can leave Endgame and you know that Loki is somewhere. Like, because if you watch nothing but MCU movies, you know Loki never stays dead.
Facts.
Nobody ever really stays dead unless they're dead in real
Uncle
life.
Ben.
Facts.
Uncle Ben stays dead.
Oh my
Uncle Ben
God.
stays dead.
Uncle Ben will
always
die in
dies.
every iteration. And Batman's parents.
Yes. Those,
Oh, yeah,
those are the
that's
only
true.
characters that consistently stay dead across
That
all
is,
properties. Well, except in Flashpoint. Except in Flashpoint.
say that's a absolute point in time. They have to die.
The Nexus point.
Nexus point in time. So yeah, if you're not doing your own due diligence and homework, the MCU doesn't care. And that's what we talked about before. Not many people are going to go back and watch all of these storylines leading up to.
Like
They
I said,
lean
that's
on
why I
guys
think-
like us in the fandom to kind of condense it, give it to you in 30 minutes or less, or however you can do it. And then you're caught up. You see a lot of things on the internet. Watch this before you go watch X, Y, and Z.
Right. But like I said, that's
So
why I
you're
feel
an
like
audience
the
member and you
critics
didn't
gave
watch
it such a low score because for a general viewer, because for most critics aren't necessarily superhero movie fans because a lot of superhero movies get rated pretty low. But the
Yeah.
audience score shows you what the people want. And so the critics look at this and they see, okay, well, this is obviously, connected to some universal thing, but as a movie, as a standalone movie, there were
Defecation to the critics.
But as a standalone movie, just watching this in a vacuum, if I was dropped out of time, if I was a man out of time, I came back to this reality at this point in time, went to the movies and only saw Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania with no knowledge of anything else MCU.
Would it be super?
There's a lot about this movie that would not make sense.
Would it be super?
Are we getting into it right now?
I mean, why not?
Why not?
Time doesn't work the same over here.
Time doesn't work the way you think it does. For Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, for me, it was an okay movie. I don't think it was super.
Oh my God.
I don't think it was super. I think that it did its job as a stepping off point, starting phase 5 and going into what we'll eventually see as Kang Dynasty. But one of the things that we were worried about after watching Ant-Man and the Wasp and watching Ant-Man and the Wasp, like you said, because Paul Rudd wasn't a writer on the movie, we were worried, are the jokes going to hit the same? I think the jokes weren't the problem. I think the emotion that we got from the first 2 movies, I think the emotion wasn't there. And I think that was a big lacking part of the movie. And on top of that, we were concerned about the ants. The ants made their comeback. It didn't necessarily make a lot of sense, but the ants still made a comeback. But I am appreciative that we had an Ant-Man movie and the ants were still there.
I like the ants though, man. It
was like we always talk about. You have this convenience. It's like,
oh yeah, Deus Ex Machina,
right? And
it's Deus Ex Machina, definitely.
It's bad though when it just like the only reference that we got, because we already knew the ants were going to be there, and we knew the ants were going to be in the quantum realm because we saw the ant farm get sucked in. So like when whatever the blow dryer head guy asked about the ants, I think it was like, oh, ants, do we have those here? It was either that or it was what did you say his name was? Kev? One of them asked about ants and said, do we have ants here?
Do we have those here? Yeah.
Veb was his name.
Veb,
Also,
yeah. It's like, Kev, what are you talking about?
I knew just the last 2 letters were EB. But Veb, also voiced by David Dastmalchian, who played Kurt in the previous 2 Ant-Man movies. Baba Yaga, that guy.
Yeah.
Baba Yaga.
He did the voice of Veb. So that was him screaming about his holes.
He ate somebody.
He did eat somebody.
A little range. He got clearly. He don't need no holes because he don't know how to act with these holes. You get a little hole.
He got too excited about them holes.
You see some guys get holes in the street and they wild out. You like them. You can't have these holes. You don't know how to act. Michelle, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, starring a whole crew of A-list celebrities. In your opinion, was it super?
It's kind of super. I wouldn't say it's fully super, but it wasn't not super.
It either is or
if
it
that
isn't.
makes any sense.
It either is or it isn't.
0 cents.
I'm not as harsh of a critic as Spider is, but I thought it was still a good movie. Like, it shouldn't have gotten the ratings it got. It should have gotten better ratings. I still thought it was a good movie. Like I said before, it had that good balance of like humor and action and all that, but I wouldn't say it was like as super as like Black Panther or anything like that.
Which Black Panther?
Both.
Oh, okay. Okay. Wow. Right. Wakanda forever. Right over there. Mm-hmm. Keisha, Ant-Man and the Wasp. It's co-titled, not Ant-Man with the Wasp and the Wasp. Quantumania.
Definitely
and
not
shout
equal
out
balance,
because I did not realize Ant-Man was actually inside of Quantumania when I said that and I saw that. I was like, oh, wow.
How did you not notice that?
I didn't pay attention to it. I really didn't. I looked at Quantumania as one word and never thought to impose Ant-Man in there.
Oh my God.
Or maybe I did and I forgot. Then,
that's more
Keisha was strong possibility. Was it super, in your opinion?
So we have a not super and a semi-super.
So far, yes. Not super and kind of super.
I don't know what semi-super means. I have no clue.
It means it's not fully erect. It's like halfway. It's getting there.
You got some skills for that. This is the first. This is the first in.
I know this is the first in all things super history that we have a semi super.
Yes.
I feel like after your comments about where if it ended right there and there was no post credit scenes for the general public, my definitely I would go with like it not being super, but after the post credit scenes, I felt like exactly it was a kind of a filler, kind of a stepping stone. I feel like it will get better.
Right.
So to me, I felt like it was a good movie. It had its own set of issues, but I think it was super. I really enjoyed it. I'm a Paul Rudd fan, so I really did like it. I liked all the questions. I like thinking about things. I like analyzing it. Not, I don't have high standards. My standards are pretty low.
They up there.
Pretty low.
He wants Ant-Man to have a cape.
I never said that. I'm with Ed Mode, no capes.
Yeah. So, but other than that, yes, I think it was super. I think it's a great movie for, we got little introductions to Kane and Kang and Loki, and now here. Yes, I would have wanted it to be a little more Kang, more Jonathan Majors, more into his story.
Make sure you clarify. You want more Jonathan Majors, not necessarily more Kang.
Mind your business.
Nine movies. Gonna get more Jonathan Majors.
But I think they had to, world building, story building. We had to, work on Cassie and her dad and that whole dynamic and kind of introducing her. So I was okay with less of Kang this go around, but I'm hoping that with all the Kangs in that stadium or Coliseum, wherever they're gathering, that we'll have better stories moving forward. But yes, I think it was super to me, in my opinion.
Mr. VIP, Frankie Washington, what say you? Is Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania super?
Let me come off this mountain where your standards are.
I'll kick you off this damn mountain.
I'll fly like one. Yes. Let me tell you why. We are starting phase 5 in the MCU, and you don't start at the top, you start at the bottom. And it builds up slowly. Again, we're looking at Kang. He's not at his strongest. They made it a point to say that. They made it evident to say that. He's building up, and you can see he's not the most ruthless one. We're looking at the good guy Kang versus the evil Kang. I think there will be a point somewhere along the line you're going to see more ruthless Kangs that make you wish you had to deal with the other Kang that got transported, sucked down into the microverse. Wherever he went, he's coming back. I'm pretty certain of that. They think he's dead, which again, they were probably in fear of him, because if not, why wouldn't they have attacked sooner? Now that the fact that he's out of their thought process, they're clearly gathering up the Immortus Kang, gathering all of him, and they're all falling into line. One of the first Kangs that you see come through the teleporter like Reed Richards, he drops to a knee, pledging allegiance to these other Kangs. So clearly they're going to fall in line. The other ones wasn't rushing out of the stadium. They're sitting in there anticipating the orders of who do we get to conquer next. And the one that can stop them, we're going to be wishing that Ant-Man didn't do exactly what he did, because somebody has to stop this guy and the different versions and variants of himself. I think it was a great setup. You got a lot that you're introducing in this movie. Like Keisha said, you're introducing the quantum realm because it's the first time we're seeing it since Ant-Man 2. You're introducing these freedom fighters that said, hey, we're down here too, and you left us down here, Janet, with this tyrant. He's taking over. We really don't like you. And now she's back with her secretive self, with all these relationships that she done had in the quantum realm. Poor him. Just Scotty out here can't even call it the streets. Call it the shrieking streets. I don't know what you call it. But Kang's there, clearly depressed. We're not even getting into conversation about what he's lost and how he ended up there. He's vengeful. He's ready to get out. And he can't be the most evil person, because clearly he saw MODOK with this huge head, or Darren with this huge head, and he decides to help him to a point that he could survive. Help this guy out. He was trying to help Janet out. He had redeemable qualities that's understandable in a sense of this is what it has to be. Until someone, think about what if King T'Challa was able to talk to Thanos and say there was a different way. No one has come to this king and said there's a different way. How do I defeat all these variations of me without you guys killing me? And no one has an answer for that. In the meantime, in the other timelines, I'm destroying timelines because I got to get to a point where I got one single timeline. And if that's not me, which my best intentions are out there, I got this other king version who worse intentions are out there. There's a lot of stuff to set up is what I'm saying. And they was able to encapsulate that in how long it was? 2 hours and not enough
5 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. So you got all that to set up, and you got to throw in humor and Cassie, and like you said, we didn't get Dave back. We didn't get the whole squad back. We didn't get any references to the ex-con business or how's it doing, or Cassie's mom or stepdad, or anything going on outside of the Ant-Man story. What about the Avengers, or what about what's going on in San Francisco, where's Shang-Chi? We have a self-contained movie, and it still has an overall pull into the main MCU. These guys are coming, and we really are still divided at this point in time. I can't see anybody that can defeat this level of Kane. Maybe Thor, maybe, but you seen he had an energy shield that he was stopping projectiles and the ants were getting in, so I can't say that Thor can throw Mjolnir and that can break through. So, well, he took Mjolnir back. He gave Stormbreaker the love, which again made no sense because I don't see how.
Why not give a 10-year-old a battle axe?
I know, like why not? That's what we do now.
How much of eternity is in love, or is love eternal?
I think eternity became love. That's not even referencing this movie, so we're not about to dive down that hole.
That's the type of questions you don't want at the end of your movie. But these have great questions because, again, Scott's telling you in his monologue, well, you think about it, Scott's saying, was I supposed to let him out? Was I supposed to stop him? This is, it's going to be, and he's driving this. First of all, that cake was horrible. I could tell at the end of the when they ate that cake. That cake was disgusting. There's a reason
I came out of cake making retirement for you, and I was like, I wish you didn't.
That cake was disgusting.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking that it'll come to a point. I'm surprised that everyone came out. What the hell's going on? What? For all those that's watching on the podcast, I don't.
This is real life. So sorry.
So there you go. Was it super? Again, I answered yes. Yes, it was super. They had a lot to unpack. I think they did a great job. If anything, I think all MCU movies should be 3 hours now. If you know what you're doing and know how to tell a story. No, I will not, sir, because I think everything that you guys are saying, you would have got more of if there was more time to tell that story properly.
I think if this movie was 3 hours long, we would have got more forced jokes that didn't work, and then we would have ended up having more questions about why
you
this didn't
understand
work.
That because Taika Waititi did it. That's why.
I'm just saying that because it was like I was saying about the whole I've died in Avengers line. It was like that didn't necessarily work, and just the switch, the on and off switch between Crossbow. I mean, like we said, he could have been losing his mind. But no, I understand what you're saying. I just feel like
why would they kill MODOK? They could have brought him out, or maybe they'll multiverse him in. Because here's the thing, MODOK is a silly character. I mean, he's serious, but he's silly. If you guys go back and watch what's the animated show he's on Hulu?
MODOK. Yeah, it was on Hulu. Yeah.
Yeah, so if you go back and watch that show, it's pretty much the same. But he's silly,
one thing about
but he gets
is
serious.
Cross was never like that. I can see if we had a character who was a little bit silly. If you had like a mixture of, I won't even go as far as to say, the personality that Louise had, but somebody that was kind of in that same realm. Which if we saw Darren Cross and he was making jokes but still being serious, Kind of like Sonny Birch. Sonny Birch he still made jokes because he was like, oh, I'm going to keep your money as a down payment for, for my heartbreak. Like, he still had jokes, but he was still like, I'm going to call the FBI and I'm going to rat these people out because I need to get his job done. So he was slightly jokey, but still, when it came down to business, he would get down to business. Cross was never that humorous.
Sense of humor. I didn't think Sonny Birch was funny at all.
I'm not saying that he was funny.
Yeah.
I'm just saying he's willing to make jokes. He was trying to insert humor into a serious situation. I'm not saying that was necessarily funny, but he still tried to make jokes. Because it was like the whole thing about the truth serum, right? So he's like, he had the patience with Louise going through this whole diatribe, and he was like, look, I don't need to know the whole life story. I just need to know where is Scott right now. It's not truth serum. There's no such thing as truth serum. They had a funny moment in that scene, but there was never that type of funny moment with Darren Cross and all of Ant-Man. So I can't see that leap in personality.
I agree with Michelle. I think Darren Cross was down there in the quantum realm without his helmet on, and he's starting to lose his mind.
That's fair.
And then again, how long he was down there, who knows? Maybe he developed a sense of humor. You got to take something. Dude, you got baby hands, which you put on Scott's face. You got baby legs. You're stuck to a chair. And you can't take life in stride at that point in time.
He had to have lost his mind in order for him to say, Scott, you were always like a brother to me. He knew Scott for all of maybe 2 days.
He was losing it.
He had to have lost his mind. So y'all are right. He had to have lost his mind. Scott was like, was I? Sure.
I think everybody was looking at him like, what?
He knew of Scott once Hank started working with him, but he
First
only
time we saw Scott, he was in the Ant-Man suit. Right. He didn't talk to him before. Kill him.
Exactly. He knew Scott for less than a day. I always thought of you like a brother to me. Like, what?
Exactly.
Yeah, he was losing it for sure.
Yeah, that lost his mind. But everyone watching, let us know in the comments what you thought about Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. We told you that. We know we told you that we were spoiling it, but of course we didn't go through the whole movie. There's a lot left to be seen. But give us your opinion. Let us know in the comments what you thought about Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. If you have any of the questions that we had leaving the theater, or if you're excited about the future of the MCU and what's going to happen with the Council of Kings and when we will see their return. But remember, if you like the video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so you can be notified when we have new episodes that come out. If you want the audio version of the podcast, just search for All Things Super on any of your favorite major podcast streaming platforms. And if you want to join in on the conversation, just tweet at us at ATSuperPod.
And we like reading the comments.
But before we leave, I do have a couple notes that I wanted to add before we wrap up. One, and this is really just for Mr. VIP Frankie Washington and everybody else that listened to our Ant-Man and the Wasp episode. I said in our Ant-Man and the Wasp episode, I said when we wrapped up and Jimmy Woo was taking the ankle bracelet off of Scott's ankle and they had that conversation about going to dinner, I said I wanted to see a scene. I was hoping that we would get to see a scene of them going out to dinner because I feel like they would have a nice relationship. I called it. They went out to dinner.
Pay it off.
And
it was nice to see them together.
It was just something nice to see. And again, like I said, if you're watching this movie and you don't have any previous knowledge of the previous Ant-Man movies, then of course that's gonna be like, who the hell is that? Why is he out to dinner? Why are they showing it? It's like you said, MCU doesn't care if you don't watch it. I think they do care, and they throw in stuff like that just for the people who have stuck around for all of the properties, because anybody who hasn't, they won't recognize the character. They won't know what that means. But for those of us who watch Ant-Man and the Wasp, and since we watched it, a lot more recently than probably a lot of people, we get that, that payoff because that's fresh in our minds about that conversation that they had. Because before we even rewatched it, I completely forgot about that conversation. But the second thing that I do want to ask is, we've all watched Loki. We know that He Who Remains said that the different variants of Kang, when they all found out that they could travel between time and space, between realities, there was an interdimensional war between the Kangs.
It's coming.
So it doesn't seem like this is going to be a war between the Kangs because we have all of the Kangs convening in one location to work together. So are we seeing a precursor to this interdimensional war, or are we seeing the after effects of it because the war has now been resolved and they're all working together? Because like we said, time is a circle. Everything that's happened before will happen again, yada, yada, yada. So I guess this is something that you can leave this episode and theorize about. So are we seeing a precursor to this interdimensional war, or are we seeing a post-war treaty where these Kangs are now working together?
Are you allowing me to answer this question, or are you leaving this open?
No, I'm just saying anybody can chime in.
Ladies?
Not even
like,
touching that one.
No idea.
Not even touching that one.
Keisha?
I think he touched on it a little bit when he was talking, and he put our world, and then the timelines up top, and then there was all these intercrossing, and he was like, this is what his variants have been doing, and all these different timelines were kind of going. I think we're seeing kind of, before the war, if that's kind of my opinion, like it hasn't started yet. And because the time is not what we think it is or how we think it is, it could be a possibility that the war hasn't happened yet. Could be why he's so adamant about trying to stop them. It's coming. Something's coming. So I don't know. But based on his little conversation, that they're running amok now. They're just doing their own thing, kind of messing with the timelines. And I think the war is coming.
I agree.
So dramatic.
This is what I was saying, and we talked about this before, Spider. Marvel as a whole, company-wise, they've learned this about their villains. They're not just showing you they're a villain. They're showing you their villain inside of their villainy, right? Think back about Zemo. It wasn't just, I'm a villain against the Avengers. They showed you his process, how he disguised himself as Bucky, bombed the UN, framed Avengers. and because he had this other information about knowing that Bucky killed Tony's parents, he won. He won. Even in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, he won. Even though it looked like he lost, he destroyed the other super soldiers. He destroyed the other super soldiers in the movie he was in. Yeah. He is actually 2-0.
Yeah. He's the only undefeated MCU villain.
And he's like, how do you feel when Eric Ross asked him, how do you feel you did all that planning and you lost? He's like, did I? Did I lose? He won. When you seen Killmonger, you didn't see Killmonger just... His plan was to infiltrate Wakanda. He won the throne in combat. He won. He did not lose. He won. He got killed in the end. Or did he? Because again, comic books, no one's really dead.
Well, he's dead. He showed up in an ancestral plane. He's dead. You don't show up in ancestral plane if you're alive.
Hondo is in Valhalla. Jane is in Valhalla. We'll see him in Secret Wars. Point that I'm saying is you're seeing these villains.
This idea that these people are coming back to life.
You've seen these money contracts. You've seen these villains. Thanos. You didn't just hear about. You heard he was coming, but at the same time, inside of Infinity War and Endgame, you saw him on planets, Gamora's planet, decimating half of her people. You seen him coming in from a portal, cleaning off his Thanos blade because he had just conquered another world. This is what he does, but he's explaining to you the mission that he's on and why he's doing it. But you're seeing the villains do the villainy thing. So in the same situation with Kang, I'll give you another example before we go. Mysterio, he's an illusionist, right? But you're seeing how he's doing his illusions and what's motivating him to do it. He's doing the illusions of the elementals and trying to get the public persuasion of trying to manipulate the media. He's doing it. So it's not like you're not hearing about it. You're actually seeing them do it. Now, the situation with Kang is a more complex story. So you got to get the precursors in Loki. Then you're starting to see that the time keepers, the time variants, and the time keepers, they're not real. Kang's responsible for that. Then they're starting to throw these little Easter eggs in Moon Knight, in this and that. Throughout time, there's manipulation going on. And is everything scripted? Because He Who Remains said, I laid the path for you to come right here. Because I wanted to give you the choice of either take over, or you could kill me because you're mad because I did this. He didn't hold anything back. He said, I'm responsible for all of this. So you kill me and release a multiversal war where I'll just end up here again, or you could take over and run it. So when he got killed, his last words was epic. I'll see you soon. Because he already knows what the outcome is. It's like Keisha said, like you said, it's a circle. So you're looking at the multiversal war before it begins. You already know we already know the ending. The ending is going to be Kang right back at the Citadel of Time, trying to construct a timeline that hopefully is the best case scenario. But we may see the worst case scenario, which is a Kang dictator that enslaves everyone. And we're hoping the Avengers will avenge us and set things right back to the way they were. But
I volunteer as tribute.
I don't think that they're going to be able to leave a Kang in charge. And that's why I always throw that wild theory out there that Adam Warlock should probably be that person. We'll see. But Ant-Man did get trapped in the quantum realm until Cassie and Hank and Janet saved him. At the end, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania.
Yes.
It wasn't Cassie, though. Cassie wasn't there.
No.
Not Cassie.
Cassie, Hank, and Janet open a portal to get Hope and Scott.
Oh,
back.
and that's also so.
Because I thought they were stuck there for a minute. I was like, "Yeah,
Me too.
Yeah, and the thing about it
was,
is because
she went to go get her man.
they
facts."
and again, this is something that wasn't really explained in depth as to how she was able to reopen the portal, because they use the orb from the engine in order to open up the portal in the first place. So once he threw both the enlarging and the shrinking disc at it and sucked Kang into the portal or into the orb, it looked like it was dead. It looked like there was no more power going to it. So how were they able to open up another portal into the quantum realm to get him out?
Janet, that juice. We don't know what liquid that was.
No,
It's a map. It's a
even.
map. It was a map quest, and it just
You can
led them
have them.
directly
You
to
can
it.
have. I can go to Google Maps and I can see how to get to the mall. But if I have no gas in my car, I'm not gonna get there.
Yeah, well, at the same time,
Science.
we're movie magic because of movie.
And this is why I say it's not super for some stuff like that.
We have no idea how long Cassie was outside of the quantum realm, because
that was
she
immediate.
made the
That was
beacon
immediate.
again.
That was immediate.
Well,
The way, unless they framed it to a way that it wasn't supposed to be
they
immediate.
had to rebuild this thing, and even if that
Well, it wasn't
that
broken. They
one
just
was
sucked them all in.
Time is not what you think
How
it
did
is,
they
Spider.
how they get back then?
What do you mean how to get back?
The little quantum beacon. How did it get back?
It never got sucked in. The quantum beacon stayed in the basement.
Stayed in the basement.
Okay, well, she just turned that thing on and
Yeah,
found
and she
them.
just
Then.
turned it on, typed some numbers into the keyboard, and opened up another portal.
Yeah,
Science. Amazing.
magic.
Women in STEM. We support women in STEM.
We do support women and stuff. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with Cassie's intellect. I'm just saying that it was a bit convenient that she was just able to
Yes,
reopen
it
the
was.
portal.
Oh, a lot of
I
convenient.
for sure thought they were stuck there. I was like, that's why Hope came back, because they would have
been
be
stuck there, and
for a
they
while.
could have been there. They could have been with the rebels, and they could have reformed like a whole
Exactly.
civilization. That's
where
why I thought the
they
movie
were
was going.
Yeah. And at the end of Secret Wars, you'll have them come through a portal with everybody from the refugee camps and the freedom fighters and save the day. But we went a different way. We left it very ambiguous.
And we had a shitty
That's
birthday
why it
party.
was. Well, shitty cake,
Shitty
definitely.
kid got a birthday party.
It looked very smoky. Like, were they smoking in there? Like, are y'all at a casino? Where did you take me to dinner?
They were at like a Bennigan's or something, because it was a restaurant where the wait staff was singing for them, so it was like a family chain style restaurant.
How long has Bennigan's been closed?
I don't know.
This was a time traveling movie.
It's a steak and ale.
There you go.
This is our post credit scene right here.
Yeah.
I didn't want to name drop a modern establishment. I didn't want to give them any product placement.
But yeah, I thought for sure, I was like, she came back, she's going to stay, that they're going to be stuck here. That would have been a good, interesting ending, but no.
Probably been a better ending.
We
could have still had Scott questioning his actions in the quantum realm. He could have been, they could have, because they were in like that tower area, the windows were broken, all this other kind of stuff. He could have been just kind of looking over everything and seeing like the rebels celebrating, and he could have just been thinking to himself, he was like, or even just talking to Hope. It's like, Hope could have been like, we won, we did it. You're like, but did we? And they could have just had this whole conversation with each other. So the ending still could have had the same cliffhangers, the same questions, but I feel like Keisha said, I feel like it would have been more impactful if they were stuck there, because that's real ramifications to what they did. Not just, oh, everybody's back, everything happy-go-lucky now, and Scott's the only one that's dealing with this internally. We don't see anybody else dealing with this problem. So moving forward is the only person that's thinking that we're about to face a bigger threat. Is Scott the only one that's thinking that?
Yes.
He could have did some training in the quantum realm too.
Yes.
He got his ass
Oh, that would have been like Goku fighting in the time chamber.
Super. He is right up there with Daredevil. They are not super.
Why is Daredevil not super? You know what? I'm not about to get into that conversation.
Don't get me started.
Daredevil is not super.
Don't get me started. No, not. They're not super.
See, y'all is just a family of Daredevil slander.
Michelle, you like Daredevil?
Constantly.
I love him, but he's not bad.
He's always in a trash can, getting his ass kicked.
He was in a trash can one time.
It don't matter.
He was in a trash can one time. He just found a building full of dudes.
To stay in the trash can.
He has heightened senses. That is not super.
And
like,
still, if you got five people coming at you at once, I don't care. He's still a man at the end of the day. He doesn't have super strength. Wow.
Anyways,
is hurtful.
Back to a regular program.
But anyway, thank you.
What happened
Keisha.
to Daredevil when he was in The Boys? Homelander said, "Hey, give me. What if I do this?"
It's messed up.
He was deaf and blind.
Messed up.
Oh, it got dark. It got real dark now.
Don't get me wrong. I support people with disabilities.
Sure. He in a trash can all the time.
I
He can't even see. How you gonna be a superhero? He can't see.
How? Make it make sense. Nigga don't even have a super suit. Like, come on, man.
Oh my god.
He can't get big, he can't get small, he can't do nothing but get his ass whooped constantly.
If Ant-Man and Daredevil got into a fight, I guarantee you Daredevil would win that fight.
I doubt that, seriously.
No.
Daredevil would win.
I doubt that, seriously. Shout out to John.
He can hear him. He doesn't have to see him. He can hear him.
Your other senses are heightened.
He can hear him. I don't care if you're an inch tall. He'll still hear tiny footsteps.
You can't hit. I jump and tap at the same time. I seen that coming.
He gonna hear the click of the button. That's what he gonna do. Daredevil can hear the click of the button. He know he's coming.
Y'all are so loving to try to send out those warm energies to less superhero.
Y'all are just ableist. That's what y'all are. You're ableist.
I'm not ableist.
Damn.
First of all, I'm not. I'm not.
But Keisha and Michelle, thank you so much. We always have a great time when y'all show up to the show.
Right?
And dealing with us and our nonsense. But it's greatly appreciated.
Now.
Exactly. And we do this every week, so y'all know how it is.
So tired.
This is why you drink before you start recording.
Yeah.
But we really appreciate having you guys on. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you for inviting
Always
me. I really
fun.
appreciate it. Always fun.
But to our viewers, to our listeners, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. We will be back with more movies, more TV shows, more trailers, and we will answer the question, is it super? But until then, we'll see you all in the next episode.